No one likes paying taxes, literally no one, especially business owners, because estimated tax payments are so confusing. So in this video, I'm going to break down what estimated taxes are, how to know if you have to pay them, and then how to calculate how much to pay. Let's get started.
You're not just a hair professional, you're a CEO.
Hey guys, it's Jen here with The Hair CEO, helping you build a premium brand focused on profits without overpaying in taxes. On this channel, I bring you videos on business and taxes tailored specifically to self-employed hair professionals and beauty business owners. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. All right, what are estimated tax payments? Let's start with breaking down the annual tax return that everyone should be familiar with. April 15th is the deadline. That's when everyone files taxes, whether you work a W-2 job or you are a business owner. So for W-2 employees, taxes are taken out for them. And that money is sent to the IRS, to the state governments if they have income taxes, and that money is being collected during the year as they work. And then when that person files their taxes, the tax return is saying, okay, this is how much money I made. And then it's, calculating some deductions. And then they say, okay, this is your taxable income. And based on that taxable income, you either paid enough where you don't owe anything, we don't owe you anything, or maybe you overpaid and then you're due a refund. Or if you didn't pay enough, you owe taxes. Now, if they didn't pay enough, that means that the employer didn't take out enough taxes, and the employee, the person who's filing, the taxpayer, has to pay an additional amount in taxes. Now, for business owners, it's completely different because you don't have an employer taking out the taxes for you. You have to do that on your own. So that's where the estimated tax payments come in. It is essentially the exact same thing where you are telling the government how much money you're making, and they're saying, okay, send us an estimate on that amount so that when you file your taxes in April, we will tell you if you paid enough or if you paid too little. Now, if you paid too much, we'll give you a refund, but if you didn't pay enough, you're going to owe us money. Now, I would say a majority of business owners, I don't know if that's really safe to say, but how about I say a majority of hair professionals that I have worked with, when they come to the Hair CEO group, the bookkeeping and tax firm that I have, they typically are not paying estimated taxes. And what's happening is if they come to us to file taxes from January to April, they owe money because they haven't paid any estimated taxes. And so when I break this down for self-employed hair professionals that come work with us for the very first time, whether it's with bookkeeping or with getting their taxes done, we always get the same three questions. The third most popular question that we get is, if I end up owing more than $1,000, can I pay in April when I file my tax return, or do I have to pay quarterly during the year? The U.S. government operates on an honor system for business owners when it comes to the taxes that they pay. So if you're going to owe more than $1,000, the rule is you have to make estimated tax payments. Now, if you do not make estimated tax payments and you pay in April, then you're going to be charged a penalty for not making estimated tax payments, and you're going to be charged interest for not making those payments. So the answer is pretty simple. You don't have to, but if you don't, you're going to be penalized for it with penalties and interest. So that is a pretty simple, cut and dry answer to the third most popular question that we get when we explain estimated tax payments. The second most popular question we get is, if I'm going to be penalized if I pay the whole thing in April, when do I have to make these tax payments? And the answer is April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the following year. Now, this was really confusing to me in the beginning because tax quarters do not coincide with regular calendar quarters. And, as business owners, we talk about Q1, 2, 3, and 4, and you would think it makes sense that the tax quarters coincide the same way, but they don't. So to give you an example, you have January, February, March is Q1 for business owners, right? And then for tax purposes, that is the first quarter. January, February, March, and then in April, you have to make your estimated tax payment. But then that's kind of where it stops with how it coincides with the calendar year, because then for tax purposes, it's April and May is Q2, and Q2 is due in June. So if you're using the calendar quarters for when you need to make your tax payments, you're going to miss the deadline and you're going to pay a penalty. So make sure you note down those dates. April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the following year. So let's get to the number one question that we get when we explain estimated taxes. And that question is, how do I calculate how much I'm going to owe? Great question. And there are 3 ways that you can go about doing this. 2 of them are free, 1 is paid. So let's talk about the first free one. The simplest way to do this is to look at last year's tax return. Let's say last year's tax return, you owed $4,000 in taxes. Then you would take that $4,000 divided by 4 and make that payment for each of the payment deadlines. So in April, June, September, and January, you would make a payment of $1,000. That's the simplest way. Now, the problem with that way is that you're making an estimated tax payment based on last year's numbers. And if you're like most business owners, you want to do better than last year. So by paying that amount, you still may end up owing because you did better that year. So to give you an example, I was working with one of my barber clients. Was it a barber? Yes, it was a barber. And they don't work with me during the year doing their regular bookkeeping. They just come to me annually. And this particular barber owed, I want to say maybe it was like $8,000 in taxes. They were making really good money. So $8,000 in taxes. When I explained how they need to make estimated tax payments, they were like, okay, perfect. I just need to know that. So during the year, they made estimated tax payments, $2,000 each quarter. The problem is that when it was time to file taxes for the next year, they owed like $1,500. And they were like, Jennifer, what happened? Like, why do I owe $1,500? I made the tax payments at the times you told me to. Like, I don't understand this. I'm like, yeah, but that was based on last year's numbers. You made more money this year, and the U.S. has a progressive tax system. So the more money you make, the more money in taxes you pay. So they were like, oh my goodness. Now, if they were working with us during the year, doing their bookkeeping, then they would have known that they had to pay more in taxes for their estimates. But again, that is the easiest way to figure out how much money you have to pay in estimated taxes. Just note that if you do better in business, then you're likely going to owe more in April when you file your taxes. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say you did worse, the following year, then you would get a refund, because if you made less money, then you would owe less in taxes. So the second way to calculate how much to pay in estimated taxes is with this website. It's called Keeper. They have this free tool where you can enter in the state where you live, your estimated net income for the year, and then you put in your tax filing status, and then you hit calculate, and it'll tell you how much federal payment to make and how much of the state payment to make based on your estimate of how much money you believe you're going to make. Now, this is a really cool tool. I will leave the link below, but the problem with this tool is that it's based off of you estimating how much money you're going to bring in your business. And so it's still a lot of guesswork. The third option is what I recommend hair CEOs who aren't ready to work with the Hair CEO group on a regular basis with monthly bookkeeping. And it's the estimated taxculator. It's something that I put together that will allow you to enter in your exact income, business income. You put in all of your business expenses by the month. And it's going to calculate both your federal taxes and your state taxes. Now, of course, it's still an estimate, but it's going to be the closest estimate than these two other tools because it's pulling information based off of your business numbers. And every year we update it. So whenever you go to purchase this tax calculator, it's always going to be for the current year that we are in. So I'm going to leave the link to that below. And when you purchase that, it comes with a video training with me explaining how to use the tools so you're never alone. And of course, we answer any questions that you may have, but it's super easy to use. We have also a video in there on how to actually make the tax payments after you calculate it. We take you through making the payment to the IRS, and also we give you the links to all of the state websites once you calculate how much you owe to the state. Now, one thing to keep in mind, estimated tax payments are just as they say, estimates. So depending on a lot of different factors, even when you file your taxes, you may end up getting a refund, meaning you paid too much, or you may have to owe a little bit of money in addition to what you've already paid, because again, there are so many factors that need to be taken into consideration. And until you file that annual tax return by April 15th, you just won't know how much exactly you owe. So question of the day, how do you keep up with your expenses throughout the year? Leave your best advice in the comments. You never know how your comments can help out another CEO in the community. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to get your hands on the estimated tax calculator, I'm going to leave a link so that you can purchase it. And if you found this video helpful and you want more videos just like this where I simplify business and taxes, make sure you like and hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.